Ryan ran through the wide streets of the alien city, his heart beating fast in his chest. The air was hot, filled with the sound of hissing vents and the smell of burning metal. Tall buildings of stone and steel rose on both sides, their glowing signs casting strange colors on the ground. Behind him, the heavy steps of the debt collectors shook the street. Their voices carried above the noise of the city, calling his name with anger. Ryan did not dare look back. He knew what would happen if they caught him. The debt guild never forgave, and they never forgot. For weeks he had tried to escape them, but today they had found him again. He pushed through a crowd of merchants and travelers, ignoring their shouts as he brushed past. His lungs burned, but he kept moving. Stopping was not an option. The city of Othra was not built for humans. The people here were tall, broad, and strong, with skin that glimmered faintly under the sun. Their voices were deep, their steps heavy, and their presence overwhelming. To them, Ryan was small and weak, almost invisible. Sometimes that worked in his favor, but today it felt like a curse. He was easy to spot, the only human running with fear on his face. He turned sharply into a narrow alley. Pipes lined the walls, dripping with steam. The sound of pursuit was close, the ground vibrating with the steps of his hunters. Ryan pushed himself harder, his legs aching, his throat dry. He remembered the warning an old trader once gave him, never owe the guild. But at that time, Ryan had no choice. He had borrowed to survive, thinking he would pay it back after finding work. Work never came, and the debt grew like a storm cloud over his life. Now the storm was ready to swallow him. He stumbled across broken crates and nearly fell, but he caught himself and kept going. At the end of the alley, the path opened into a busy market square. Stalls crowded the sides, filled with strange fruits, glowing crystals, and mechanical parts. Ryan weaved between tall shoppers, ducking under the arms of creatures twice his height. The collectors followed, shouting for people to move aside. Some onlookers gave Ryan a glance filled with pity. Others stepped away quickly, not wanting to get in the guild's way. He could feel the gap closing. They were faster than he expected. Their heavy bodies did not slow them down. Ryan's eyes darted around the square, searching for any place to hide. His gaze caught a wide doorway at the far side. A line of cloth swayed gently from poles above the courtyard inside. The fabric was huge, larger than sails on a ship. It looked like laundry, drying under the sun. Ryan's legs moved before his mind could think. He sprinted across the square and slipped through the doorway. At once the noise of the market faded, replaced by the soft sound of fabric moving in the breeze. The air smelled clean, almost sweet, with a faint trace of flowers. Ryan stood among towering sheets and garments, each one large enough to cover him completely. He did not waste time. Picking a corner where shadows gathered, he crawled into the folds of a massive cloth and pulled it around himself. The fabric was heavy, warm from the sun, but it gave him cover. He crouched low, holding his breath, praying the collectors would pass by. The sound of pursuit grew closer. The ground shook as they reached the courtyard gate. Ryan's heart pounded so loud he thought they might hear it. He pressed himself deeper into the fabric, shutting his eyes. The collectors stopped just outside. Their voices rumbled with irritation. One suggested searching inside, but another grunted that humans were too small and too weak to hide for long. They argued for a moment, then moved away, their heavy steps fading slowly into the distance. Ryan waited, not daring to move. Only after several minutes passed in silence did he finally breathe out. His chest rose and fell as relief spread through him. He had escaped again, at least for now. But he could not relax completely. He knew the guild would not stop. They would search every corner of the city until they found him. He had only bought himself a little time. He shifted slightly, peeking out from the folds of the cloth. The courtyard was wide, with poles and lines stretched from wall to wall. Laundry of all kinds hung there, from sheets to garments shaped for bodies far larger than his own. The walls of the house were smooth stone, painted with strange patterns that glimmered faintly in the sunlight. The place seemed quiet, almost peaceful. Ryan let out another breath, thinking he might stay hidden until night came. He could move under the cover of darkness and find another shelter before the guild returned. But deep inside, he knew this cycle could not last forever. He needed a way out, a way to break free from the debt that chained him. As he sat within the fabric, his thoughts drifted to his past. He remembered the small outpost where he was born, the stories of humans standing proud against challenges far greater than themselves. He remembered his mother's words, that even a small flame could light a great darkness. But in this moment, he felt more like smoke than flame. Still, he was alive. That was something. Ryan adjusted his position, trying to rest. The fabric was soft against his back, its scent strangely calming. His eyelids grew heavy. For the first time in days, he felt a spark of safety. Perhaps this was the break he needed. Perhaps fate had guided him to this strange courtyard for a reason. What he did not know was that the owners of this house were not far away. They would return soon, and when they did, they would not expect to find a human hiding among their laundry. His desperate choice would change everything, pulling him into a world he could not imagine. For now, Ryan remained hidden, listening to the gentle sound of fabric swaying in the breeze, unaware that his life was about to take a turn that no debt collector could ever predict. Ryan stayed still in the folds of the massive cloth, trying not to breathe too loudly. His small heart thumped rapidly as he listened to the distant echoes of the debt collectors fading from the street. The courtyard was quiet now, except for the soft sway of the giant sheets above him. Sunlight streamed through gaps, casting moving shadows across the ground. Ryan looked around, amazed at the size of everything. The sheets were enormous, each one bigger than the roof of his tiny home on Earth. The seams were thick and strong, and the cloth was soft but heavy. Ryan pressed himself deeper into the folds, feeling almost like he was inside a soft cave. He realized the owners of this laundry must be very large. He tried to imagine a person big enough to wear these clothes. Even his imagination struggled. Ryan's stomach growled, reminding him that he had not eaten since early morning. He felt weak from running, but he could not leave the safety of the cloth. He had no idea who might be nearby, and the streets were still dangerous. He shifted slightly, trying to get comfortable. The fabric smelled clean and faintly of flowers. It was calming in a strange way. Suddenly, he heard the sound of heavy footsteps on the stone courtyard outside. His heart jumped. He froze completely, holding his breath. The footsteps stopped near the entrance, and then a deep, amused voice called out. "Vera, Myra, Tila. The laundry is done. Come and see." Ryan's mind raced. Those names Vera, Myra, and Tila sounded strong, commanding, even playful. He pressed himself further into the cloth, trying not to make a sound. The steps drew closer, and Ryan could hear the rustle of enormous garments being carried in their hands. The women were returning. He caught a glimpse of long shadows passing over the cloth. He realized their size was even more intimidating than he had imagined. The soft sway of the laundry made it look alive as he held his position. Vera appeared first. She was massive, her muscles clearly visible under her smooth skin. Her braid swung over one shoulder as she moved, and her hands carried a basket full of folded clothes. Ryan stared in awe. He had never seen beings like this before. They seemed powerful yet graceful, strong yet careful in their movements. Myra followed, taller than Vera, with shoulders that seemed like walls. She carried another basket, humming a deep, pleasant tune. Her eyes scanned the courtyard with curiosity, not noticing the tiny human hidden among the laundry. Tila was the last to arrive, her step heavier than the others, but her eyes were sharp and alert. She carried a pile of large towels and laid them carefully on a wooden table. Ryan could see her glance around the courtyard, her gaze sharp as if she could notice every detail. Ryan realized that staying hidden would not be easy. The women's size made him almost invisible, but their awareness was precise. One careless movement could give him away. He held perfectly still, trying to remain invisible in the folds of the massive cloth. The three women began folding laundry, their movements smooth and practiced. They worked together as a team, speaking to each other with short, simple words that seemed full of meaning. Ryan watched silently, fascinated by their strength and coordination. Every motion was confident. Every gesture was controlled. The human mind in him felt both awe and fear. He could see the fine lines of their arms and shoulders as they bent and lifted the sheets. Even the smallest gestures seemed impressive. The folds of the fabric pressed against him as the women adjusted it, and he had to squeeze himself tighter to avoid being seen. At one point, Vera lifted the sheet he was hiding in to shake it, letting the sun shine through the cloth. Ryan's heart skipped a beat as he held his position. Fortunately, Vera did not notice him. Ryan realized that even among giants, he could find a place to hide. He felt a spark of hope. Perhaps this place could be more than just a temporary hiding spot. Perhaps it could be a new start. As he stayed hidden, he tried to study the women. Vera seemed cheerful, her eyes bright and lively. Myra appeared thoughtful, always observing and noticing small details. Tila was serious, but there was kindness in her movements. Ryan sensed that each had a different personality, yet together they formed a team that could not be easily challenged. Ryan's mind wandered to the streets outside. The debt collectors would not stop searching. They would move from street to street, looking for a human small enough to hide in the shadows. But for now, he was safe. For now, he was among beings far stronger than the hunters outside. The thought gave him courage. He shifted again, trying to look without being seen. From this angle, he could see the courtyard in detail. Lines of laundry stretched across the space, swaying gently in the breeze. Baskets sat at the corners, filled with folded garments. A wooden table stood near the center, and a small well in the corner supplied water. Everything seemed ordinary, but Ryan knew it belonged to giants, and that made it extraordinary. Time passed slowly as he watched. The sun moved across the sky, casting new shadows. The women continued their work, laughing softly and talking quietly among themselves. Ryan realized he could learn from them, even in hiding. Their strength, their coordination, their confidence, these were things a human could never fully imitate, but a human could observe. A human could survive by thinking. Ryan felt a small smile. Perhaps he could find a way to turn his hiding into an opportunity. Perhaps he could find a place here, among these giants, where he was not just a tiny, scared human. Perhaps he could become more than a fugitive. Suddenly, the sound of a basket tipping over broke his thoughts. One of the women laughed, lifting the fallen clothes with ease. Ryan froze, realizing how fragile his position was. One wrong move, and he would be discovered. His heart pounded again, but he stayed perfectly still, barely daring to breathe. The laundry work continued, and gradually the tension in Ryan's chest eased. He realized he was safe for the moment. The women's attention was on their work, not on him. His clever hiding had bought him a small measure of peace. As the day continued, Ryan began to plan. He would stay hidden for now, but he would need a strategy for later. These women were powerful and careful. If he could earn their trust, perhaps they would protect him. Perhaps he could find a way to escape the debt collectors for good. For now, he remained still, surrounded by the gentle sway of the enormous laundry, listening to the soft hum of the courtyard. He felt small, yes, but he also felt hope. Hope that even a human, weak and tiny, could survive in a world of giants if he used his mind and courage. And so, Ryan waited, hidden in the folds of the massive cloth, as the sun moved slowly across the alien sky, unaware that his life was about to change in ways he could never imagine. Ryan stayed hidden within the folds of the massive cloth, his small body pressed tightly against the soft fabric. The sun was beginning to dip in the sky, painting the courtyard in shades of orange and gold. The gentle sway of the laundry made the shadows dance across the ground. He listened carefully, aware that the debt collectors could still return at any moment. Every sound made his heart race, every shadow felt like it might hide danger. Suddenly, the soft thud of heavy footsteps reached him. Ryan's muscles tensed. The sound was different from the clumsy steps of the hunters outside. These were deliberate, confident, and heavy. The footsteps moved toward the courtyard entrance, accompanied by the soft rustle of large baskets. He could hear voices, deep and melodic, speaking in a language he could not understand. They laughed lightly, the sound carrying warmth and familiarity among themselves. Ryan realized with a start that the owners of this enormous laundry were returning. He had no idea what they would do if they discovered a tiny human hiding among their clothes. He pressed himself lower, hoping to blend completely into the folds. He watched the shadows stretch across the courtyard as three large figures approached. The first figure stepped into the light. She was enormous, her shoulders wide and strong, muscles visible even under her smooth skin. Her braids swung over one shoulder as she moved, and she carried a large basket filled with freshly folded laundry. Her eyes scanned the courtyard carefully, but she did not notice Ryan tucked within the cloth. The second figure followed, taller and broader, moving with surprising grace despite her size. She hummed a quiet tune, and her eyes darted from corner to corner, inspecting the courtyard. Her hands were strong but gentle, lifting and arranging laundry with practiced precision. Ryan could hardly believe the size of her. Every movement seemed controlled and deliberate. The third figure entered last. She was serious in her step, her gaze sharp and attentive. She carried a pile of thick towels and draped them over the wooden table in the center of the courtyard. Her eyes scanned the area carefully, catching every detail. Ryan's small heart raced as he realized that even a small noise or movement could reveal him. He pressed himself deeper into the folds, barely daring to breathe. The three women began working together in perfect coordination. Vera, the first woman, sorted the laundry quickly, folding large sheets with ease. Myra, the second, stacked the clean garments neatly into baskets. Tila, the third, carried the heavier items and set them in order, her movements precise and strong. Ryan watched from his hiding place, fascinated by their skill and coordination. He realized that these women were not just strong, they were careful, observant, and intelligent. Each movement had purpose, each glance carried meaning. Ryan understood that he was in the presence of beings who could not be underestimated. Even the slightest mistake on his part could be noticed. Ryan's thoughts drifted as he observed them. He had never seen creatures like this before. On Earth, humans could be strong, but never like this. These women seemed almost like living mountains, yet they moved with grace and gentleness. Their presence was both intimidating and comforting. He held his position as Vero lifted a sheet that had been hiding his small body. Ryan froze, feeling the sunlight pour over him. For a moment, he thought he had been discovered. But Vero laughed lightly and shook the sheet gently. Ryan held perfectly still, grateful that the folds of the fabric concealed him. The women continued their work, talking among themselves in short, melodic words. Ryan could not understand their language, but he could sense the meaning through tone and gestures. They laughed, teased, and shared instructions, their teamwork seamless. Ryan was amazed. Even in hiding, he felt drawn into their rhythm, almost as if he were part of their world. He realized that survival in this courtyard would require patience. He could not move until he was certain they were distracted or unaware of him. His mind raced with ideas. Perhaps he could earn their trust. Perhaps he could find a way to be useful. For now, he could only observe and wait. Ryan shifted slightly, peeking through a gap in the cloth. Vera noticed a basket that had tipped over and quickly bent to lift it. Ryan saw the strength in her hands as she gathered the heavy garments with ease. Myra adjusted a sheet hanging from a line, stretching her arms fully as she secured it. Tila carried a basket of towels to the table, her steps deliberate and confident. Every action was impressive. Despite his fear, Ryan felt a spark of admiration. These women were powerful, skilled, and intelligent. They were also kind in their interactions with one another. The way they laughed, worked together, and cared for their space made him feel a small sense of hope. Perhaps not all giants were dangerous. Perhaps some could be allies. Ryan's stomach growled, reminding him of his weakness. He had been running all day and hiding without food. He pressed himself lower into the folds, wishing he could reach a morsel without being seen. The women worked efficiently, unaware of the tiny human observing them. Ryan realized that if he could find a way to communicate or prove his usefulness, he might gain their protection. Time passed slowly. The sun moved lower in the sky, casting longer shadows across the courtyard. Ryan remained perfectly still, adjusting only when necessary to stay hidden. He studied their movements, learning how they handled the heavy laundry, how they spoke to each other, and how they moved in unison. Each detail added to his understanding of their world. Eventually, Vera, Myra, and Tila gathered the folded laundry into neat stacks. They laughed softly, talking about their day and sharing small jokes. Ryan realized that this courtyard, though enormous and intimidating, was also a place of order and comfort for them. It was their home, and they protected it with care. Ryan's heart raced with a mixture of fear and curiosity. He knew that being discovered could be dangerous, but he also felt that this place held possibilities. He could survive here if he learned quickly and stayed clever. He could find a way to turn his hiding into a new beginning. As the women continued their work, Ryan made a silent promise to himself. He would remain hidden for now, but he would pay attention, learn, and wait for the right moment. Perhaps these giants could become allies instead of threats. Perhaps he could find a place in this strange, powerful world where a human could survive and even thrive. The courtyard was quiet again, except for the soft sway of the laundry in the evening breeze. Ryan stayed pressed against the folds of the cloth, his mind alert and ready. He was small, but he was alive. And in this moment, he realized that survival was not only about size or strength, it was about courage, observation, and cleverness. As the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Ryan remained hidden, watching the three giant women move through their courtyard with confidence and grace. He did not know what would happen next, but he understood one thing clearly: his life was about to change, and this laundry was just the beginning of an adventure that would test his mind and spirit like never before. Ryan had been hidden among the folds of the massive cloth for what felt like hours. He had watched the three giant women move through the courtyard, folding and stacking their enormous laundry. Every motion of theirs was precise and confident, their laughter echoing softly in the warm afternoon air. He had begun to feel a small sense of safety, almost forgetting the danger that waited outside the courtyard walls. But safety was a fragile thing. As he shifted slightly to see better, his elbow brushed against a thicker seam. The movement caused a ripple through the fabric. For a moment, Ryan's heart skipped a beat. He froze, hoping the subtle vibration would go unnoticed. It did not. Vera, the first of the women, noticed the small disturbance immediately. She bent over and gently lifted the sheet where Ryan was hidden. The sunlight fell across his tiny body, and for a moment, he was exposed. His eyes widened, and he tried to curl himself into a smaller shape, but it was no use. He was visible. "Hello there," Vera said, her voice deep but not unkind. She looked at the small human at her feet with curiosity, raising one thick eyebrow. "What are you doing hiding in our laundry?" Ryan scrambled to his feet, his face red with embarrassment. I was running from debt collectors," he stammered, unsure if they would understand him or even care. "I didn't have anywhere else to hide." "I'm sorry." The other two women turned immediately. Myra tilted her head, her eyes wide in surprise, while Tila crossed her arms and looked him up and down with an expression that was half curiosity and half suspicion. Ryan noticed how strong and tall they were. Their presence was overwhelming, yet there was no immediate threat of harm. Vera lowered the sheet gently, holding Ryan in one massive hand as if she were lifting a fragile object. Ryan's feet dangled above the ground, his small body trembling. "You are tiny," she said, a note of amusement in her voice. "And very bold to hide in our laundry." I didn't know where else to go," Ryan admitted quickly. His words tumbled out in a rush. "The collectors, they were after me. I just needed a place to hide." "Please, I won't cause trouble." Myra stepped closer, her shadow falling over him. She crouched slightly so her eyes were level with his, though he still felt dwarfed by her size. "Debt collectors?" she asked. "You mean dangerous humans or other creatures who demand money?" Ryan nodded. "Yes. I borrowed some credits to survive, but I couldn't pay it back. They found me today and chased me. I didn't know where to hide. I never meant to bother anyone." Tila, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Her voice was low and commanding. "Hiding in our home is risky. If someone found you here, they could bring trouble to us. Why should we help a human who runs from responsibility?" Ryan swallowed hard. He understood her concern. He was small, weak, and entirely at the mercy of these powerful beings. Yet something in their eyes suggested they were not cruel. They had the strength to hurt him easily, but they did not. Perhaps that meant they could be trusted at least a little. I will do anything, Ryan said quickly. I can help. I can work. I just need a safe place for now. Please. Vera studied him, her large hand holding him steady. She looked at Myra and Tila, and the three women exchanged silent glances. Ryan noticed that their expressions were not harsh. Instead, there was curiosity, and perhaps even a small amusement at his audacity. Finally, Vera smiled, a gesture that made Ryan's heart lift. "You are clever to hide so well," she said. "And brave, in your own way. Perhaps we can find a use for a human like you. But first, you must prove that you are trustworthy." Ryan nodded eagerly. "I will. I promise. Anything you ask, I will do." Myra's eyes softened slightly. "He is small, but he is determined," she said quietly. "Perhaps determination is more important than size." Tila shook her head, though the corners of her lips twitched in something that might have been amusement. "We will see," she said. "You will have one chance to show that you are useful. Fail, and you leave. Succeed, and perhaps you may stay a little while longer." Ryan felt a surge of hope. "Thank you. I won't let you down." The women returned to their work, carefully setting Ryan down near a pile of folded sheets. He noticed the size of everything around him: the baskets, the lines, even the tiny pebbles in the courtyard seemed enormous in comparison to his small body. For a moment, he felt like a child in a world of giants. Yet he also felt a spark of courage. He had survived the streets and now faced a new challenge. Vera handed him a small piece of cloth. "Start with folding this," she instructed. "It may seem easy, but do it carefully. We will watch." Ryan approached the cloth, careful not to trip or drop it. He had never handled laundry this large before, and even folding a corner felt heavy and strange in his small hands. Yet he focused, remembering the patterns the women had used. Slowly, he folded the edges neatly, trying to imitate what he had observed. Myra crouched nearby, her eyes studying his movements. "Not bad," she said quietly. "He learns quickly." Tila, standing a little farther back, nodded. "If he can handle this, perhaps he can handle more." Ryan worked diligently, aware that every action was being watched. Sweat formed on his forehead, but he did not stop. He folded the cloth carefully, matching the smooth lines of the others. When he finished, he stepped back, unsure if it was acceptable. Vera smiled again, a rare warmth in her expression. "You may have potential," she said. "Perhaps a human can be useful, after all. We will see how you perform with the next task." Ryan felt a rush of relief. For the first time since the chase began, he believed that he might have a chance to survive. He was still small and vulnerable, but he was no longer alone. He had the attention and cautious approval of these powerful women. As the sun lowered further in the sky, casting long shadows across the courtyard, Ryan realized that his life was changing. He had moved from hiding in fear to being discovered and given a chance. A tiny human in a world of giants, he now had hope, courage, and an opportunity to prove himself. The discovery that had terrified him a few moments ago had become the first step toward a new life. And Ryan knew that this was only the beginning. Ryan stood before the three giant women, still small and fragile compared to their massive forms. Vera, Myra, and Tila looked down at him with a mixture of curiosity, caution, and something he could not yet name, perhaps amusement. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the courtyard, and the gentle sway of laundry above created moving patterns of light and dark. "I will not let the debt collectors take you," Vera said firmly. Her voice was strong, yet not harsh. "But you cannot stay here without proving yourself useful. You must earn your place." Ryan's heart leaped. This was more than he had hoped for. "Thank you," he said quickly. "I will do whatever you ask." Myra folded her arms, her eyes thoughtful. "Small as you are, you have courage. Many humans would run and hide, yet you have remained here, observing and trying to adapt. That shows intelligence and bravery." Tila, still serious, added, "Bravery alone will not keep you safe. You must show skill. You must show that you can be helpful in our household and protect yourself if necessary. Otherwise, your presence could bring danger." Ryan nodded eagerly. "I understand. I will not fail you." Vera smiled slightly. "Good. We have work that requires nimble hands and careful attention. These are tasks that humans can do, but larger beings like us may not manage as easily. If you complete these, you may stay and be protected from your hunters. If you fail, you leave." Ryan swallowed, feeling the weight of the bargain. One chance. One opportunity to prove himself. He felt small and anxious, yet a spark of determination burned inside him. "I will do my best," he said. The first task was simple in idea but difficult in execution. Vera handed him a pile of small tools used to repair a device near the courtyard well. The device controlled the water flow for the laundry system, and it required careful adjustments. Ryan's fingers, though small, were nimble, and he studied the components carefully. "You must be precise," Myra instructed. "Even a small mistake could stop the water and ruin the laundry." "We will watch." Ryan nodded, taking a deep breath to steady himself. He worked slowly, adjusting small valves and tightening tiny screws. The device hummed faintly, and he held his breath, hoping that his actions were correct. Vera watched him closely. "Humans are fragile, but clever. Use your mind, not your strength," she advised. Ryan focused on every movement, remembering how he had observed the women fold laundry and handle heavy items. Though he could not match their strength, he could match their attention to detail. Slowly, he tightened the last screw and adjusted a small lever. The device activated. Water flowed gently into the basin, the laundry system beginning to operate smoothly once more. Ryan stepped back, sweating and trembling slightly, but triumphant. "Well done," Vera said, nodding. "You have skill. You pay attention. That is valuable." Myra smiled faintly. "Perhaps there is hope for you yet," she said. "You have handled this challenge without error. That is impressive for a human." Tila, still serious, nodded once. "This proves that humans can contribute in ways we cannot. But this is only the beginning. You must continue to show usefulness if you wish to remain." Ryan's chest swelled with relief. He had succeeded in the first task. The fear that had gripped him since the chase began to fade. For the first time, he felt a small sense of belonging. He was still tiny, still weak, but he had proven that cleverness and care mattered as much as strength. Vera handed him another task. "We have a pile of laundry that is tangled and heavy. Some pieces are too large for you to move alone, but you can help guide the smaller items and organize the piles. Humans are good at moving in small spaces and adjusting items carefully." Ryan approached the pile, studying it carefully. The sheets and garments were enormous, much larger than he was, but he saw the spaces between them where he could move freely. He began sorting the smaller pieces, sliding them into neat stacks and separating colors and fabrics. The work required patience and attention, but Ryan was determined. Myra observed silently, occasionally offering advice. "Keep your movements steady. One wrong push and a stack could fall." Ryan nodded. Slowly, he continued, methodically arranging the laundry. He felt a sense of rhythm, almost as if he were part of the women's system. With each piece he moved, he gained confidence. He realized that his small size was an advantage in certain situations. He could reach areas the women could not, slip between piles, and adjust items without strain. Hours passed as he worked. The sun sank lower, and the courtyard was bathed in golden light. The women continued their tasks, but they allowed Ryan to contribute without interference. He felt a sense of pride he had never experienced before. For the first time, he was not running, hiding, or fearing capture. He was part of something larger than himself. Finally, Vera stepped forward. "You have done well today," she said. "You have proven skill, patience, and courage. We will allow you to stay under our protection. But remember, this is only the first step. You must continue to prove yourself useful and trustworthy." Ryan bowed slightly, overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you," he said. "I will not disappoint you." Tila crossed her arms, her gaze softening. "You are small, human, but determination can be more powerful than size. If you continue on this path, you may find strength in ways you never imagined." Myra smiled faintly. "And we will help you when we can, but you must also help yourself. Learn quickly. Be careful. Watch and think. That is how humans can survive among giants." Ryan felt a warmth in his chest. He realized that the bargain he had made was more than just a chance to hide. It was an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to find a place in a world far larger and stronger than himself. For the first time, he felt hope and purpose. As the sun disappeared below the horizon, the courtyard settled into a calm rhythm. The laundry swayed gently in the evening breeze, the shadows stretching long and quiet. Ryan looked up at the three women, standing tall and strong, and knew that he had found more than safety. He had found allies, teachers, and perhaps even friends. The bargain had been struck. Ryan would work, learn, and prove himself. In return, he would be protected from the dangers outside. It was a delicate balance, but one that he was willing to uphold. And so, Ryan began a new chapter in his life. The tiny human had survived the chase, hidden from debt collectors, and discovered a place among beings far stronger than himself. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, he felt ready to face it. Ryan had settled into a rhythm with the three giant women. Each day brought new tasks and challenges, small at first but gradually increasing in difficulty. He had learned to navigate the enormous courtyard, fold giant sheets, and even repair devices too delicate for the women's strength. Yet he knew the real test had not yet come. That test arrived one afternoon without warning. The air in the city seemed tense, heavier than usual. Ryan sensed it before he saw it, a familiar sound of heavy footsteps echoing from the streets outside. His heart froze. The debt collectors had returned. They were searching for him, and this time they seemed more determined. Vera, Myra, and Tila noticed his sudden stiffness. "The hunters are here," Vera said, her voice calm but firm. "We must act carefully." Ryan's stomach twisted in fear. He had thought he was safe under their protection, but now he realized that danger could reach him even here. What do we do? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. Myra glanced around the courtyard. We must distract them. Draw them away from this place. You must remain hidden, and if possible, help us without being seen. Tila pointed toward a device near the water system. Ryan, you know how to fix this. If you adjust it correctly, it can create a controlled flow of water to distract the hunters. You can do it? I trust your skill. Ryan's heart pounded, but he nodded. He moved quickly yet carefully, slipping into the shadows near the device. His small hands adjusted valves, turned levers, and worked precisely as he had been taught. The device hummed to life, water flowing through the system and spilling gently into the courtyard. The sound was subtle but enough to mask small noises elsewhere. Meanwhile, Vera, Myra, and Tila approached the entrance of the courtyard. They stood tall and firm, their presence commanding attention. The debt collectors stepped into view, their eyes scanning for any sign of a human. They were big and strong, but the women's sheer size and confidence made them hesitate. Have you seen a human? One of the collectors demanded. His voice was sharp, but there was uncertainty in his tone. Vera smiled faintly. We have seen no humans here, she said. Her voice was deep and steady, leaving no room for argument. Perhaps you are mistaken. The collectors exchanged a glance, their heavy steps slowing. They did not expect resistance from the women in front of them. Their own confidence wavered as the giant figures stood unyielding, silent, and calm. Ryan kept working quietly on the device. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he tightened the final screw and adjusted the last lever. Water flowed smoothly, creating a gentle but consistent sound that masked any movement he might make. He held his breath, hoping that the hunters would not notice him. The collectors' voices grew louder as they called to each other, confused by the lack of evidence. Myra leaned casually against a pole, pretending to inspect the laundry, while Tila moved to block the entrance subtly. Their presence made the hunters hesitate, unsure how to proceed. Ryan felt a surge of courage. His cleverness, his small size, and his careful observation were now a true advantage. He could move in ways the giants could not, work on delicate tasks, and contribute in ways that the hunters would never expect. Minutes passed, each one feeling like an hour. Ryan adjusted the water flow slightly, ensuring the noise remained steady and natural. The hunters finally grew frustrated. There is no one here, one of them muttered. We must leave and search elsewhere. With heavy steps, the debt collectors turned and walked away, their search continuing down the street. Ryan's chest heaved with relief. He had succeeded in helping to protect the courtyard without being discovered. Vera, Myra, and Tila turned to him, their expressions calm but approving. Vera extended her massive hand. You have done well, she said. You acted with skill and courage. This is more than we expected from a human. Myra nodded. You have proven that cleverness and observation are as important as strength. You have helped us today without drawing attention, and that is valuable. Tila's serious expression softened slightly. You have passed the test, human. Today, you showed that you can contribute and protect yourself. This is the first true challenge, and you succeeded. Ryan felt a rush of pride. He was still small, still a human among giants, but he had made a difference. He had acted with intelligence, skill, and courage, and the women had recognized it. For the first time, he truly believed that he could survive in this world. The courtyard settled into calm again as the sun dipped lower. Ryan stepped out from the shadows and approached the women, feeling more confident than ever. "Thank you," he said. "I could not have done this without your guidance." Vera smiled faintly. "You have learned quickly, and you act wisely. That is more than most humans could do." Myra added, "Do not let fear control you. Observation, patience, and careful action will serve you better than panic." Tila nodded. "Remember, you are small, but determination and intelligence can overcome obstacles much larger than yourself. You have shown that today." Ryan's chest swelled with gratitude and pride. The debt collectors had tested him, but he had passed, and in doing so, he had gained the trust of the three giant women. He realized that survival was not about strength alone. It was about thinking, planning, and acting wisely. As the evening light filled the courtyard, Ryan understood that his life was changing. He was no longer just a frightened human hiding from danger. He was part of a small team, a team that valued skill, courage, and cleverness. He had found a place where he could learn, grow, and survive. The test had shown him that even a tiny human could make a difference in a world of giants. With careful thought and brave action, he could navigate challenges that seemed impossible. And with the guidance of Vera, Myra, and Tila, he knew that he could continue to grow stronger, not in body, but in mind and spirit. Ryan looked around the courtyard, taking in the giant laundry, the smooth stone walls, and the soft sway of the sheets. He felt small, but he felt capable. He realized that this place, once only a hiding spot, had become a proving ground. And he was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that he had survived the first real test. As night fell and the shadows deepened, Ryan remained alert but calm. He had learned an important lesson: strength was not measured only by size or muscle, but by intelligence, courage, and determination. He was ready for the challenges ahead, and he knew that he had proven himself worthy of the trust of the giant women who had protected him. The night had fallen over the courtyard, leaving shadows stretched long under the soft glow of the city lights. Ryan stood quietly, gazing at the massive laundry swaying gently in the breeze. His small body felt lighter than it had in days, yet his mind raced with questions. He had survived the debt collectors, proven his skill to the three giant women, and earned a place in their household. But he knew his life could not remain this way forever. Vera approached, her massive form casting a long shadow over him. "Ryan," she said, her voice deep but calm, "you have passed the test and proven yourself capable. But now you must make a choice." Ryan's heart skipped a beat. "A choice?" he asked, looking up at her. "Yes," Vera continued. "You can stay here, learning and working with us, protected from those who would hunt you. You will be safe, and you will continue to grow. Or you can leave, return to your world, and face the dangers outside, relying only on your own skills." Ryan swallowed. Both options carried weight. Staying meant security, guidance, and a place in a world that had once seemed impossible to survive. Leaving meant freedom, but also risk, the streets and debt collectors waiting to find him again. His mind turned over every possibility. Myra stepped forward, her expression gentle. "You have proven your courage and intelligence. We believe you can survive on your own, but you have also shown that you can be a part of something larger. The choice is yours, Ryan. Only you can decide what path you take." Tila, standing slightly apart, added, "Whatever you choose, remember what you have learned. Strength is not only in size, but in determination, skill, and careful thought. You carry that with you." Ryan looked around the courtyard. He thought of the massive sheets, the smooth stone walls, and the warmth of the women's presence. He remembered the fear and exhaustion of the chase, the desperate hiding, and the adrenaline of narrowly escaping capture. He remembered the pride of completing tasks and the satisfaction of proving himself capable. He realized that in the short time he had been here, he had grown in ways he never expected. He was no longer just a frightened human. He was clever, cautious, and confident. He had survived challenges that seemed impossible, learned from powerful beings, and discovered that even a small person could make a difference. Ryan took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill his lungs. He knew that staying would offer safety and guidance, but leaving would test everything he had learned. He thought of the streets, the debt collectors, and the possibility of freedom. He thought of the courtyard, the gentle sway of the laundry, and the towering women who had become his protectors and teachers. Finally, he spoke, his voice steady. I want to stay, he said, looking up at Vera, Myra, and Tila. I want to continue learning. I want to grow stronger, even if I am small. And I want to help, in any way I can. Vera's face softened into a small smile. That is a wise choice, Ryan. You have chosen safety, guidance, and growth over reckless freedom. We will help you, and you will continue to prove yourself. Myra nodded. You have chosen well. Learning and patience will serve you better than rushing into danger. You will find your strength here, even if it is not measured in size. Tila's stern expression softened slightly. You have made your choice. Now you must honor it. Continue to work, learn, and act wisely. That is how you will survive and thrive. Ryan felt a wave of relief and gratitude. He was still small, still a human among giants, but he felt at home in a way he had never known. The courtyard, once only a hiding place, had become a place of opportunity, growth, and belonging. He understood that survival was not just about escaping danger, it was about learning, adapting, and contributing. The women returned to their tasks, and Ryan followed, moving carefully among the enormous sheets and baskets. He felt a sense of rhythm, a flow of activity that made him feel part of the household. His small size was no longer only a vulnerability, it allowed him to reach places and perform tasks the women could not. As he worked, he realized that he had gained more than safety. He had gained purpose. Each folded sheet, each repaired device, and each small task completed was a step toward mastery, toward independence, and toward proving that humans, even small and fragile, could survive and contribute in a world of giants. Night deepened, and the city outside the walls grew quiet. Ryan paused to look at the three women. They were strong, wise, and careful, yet they allowed him to grow and learn. They had trusted him, and he had proven himself worthy of that trust. Vera placed a massive hand gently on his shoulder. You have chosen wisely, Ryan. This is not the end, but the beginning. Many challenges will come, and you will face them. But you are ready, and we will guide you. Myra smiled. Remember what you have learned today. Observe, think, and act carefully. That is how a small human can survive among giants. Tila added, your courage, intelligence, and determination have brought you this far. Continue to use them. That is your true strength. Ryan felt a warmth in his chest. He realized that he was not alone. He had allies, teachers, and a place where he could grow. The fear that had driven him to hide in laundry just days ago had transformed into confidence, purpose, and hope. He looked around the courtyard one last time before night fully settled. The enormous laundry, the stone walls, and the gentle breeze created a sense of peace. Ryan understood that life would always have challenges, but he also knew that with courage, cleverness, and determination, he could face them. And so, Ryan chose his path. He would remain in the courtyard, learning from the giants, contributing in his own way, and growing stronger with each passing day. He had escaped danger, passed tests, and earned trust. Now he had the chance to prove that even a tiny human could survive, thrive, and make a difference in a world far larger and stronger than himself. As the stars appeared above, twinkling softly in the alien sky, Ryan felt a sense of calm determination. He was small, yet capable. He had learned to hide, to observe, to act, and to trust. And he knew that his adventure had only just begun. The night in the courtyard was peaceful. Ryan moved quietly among the enormous laundry, ready for the tasks ahead, ready to grow, and ready to prove that even a human, small and fragile, could stand strong in a world of giants.